welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the Night and the Doctor mini-episode, Good Night, the second episode in the series, in the small little mini-series, which you can find on the Series 6 DVD box set. This one actually continues on a little plot line that had been in Bad Night. I think it was Bad Night. Yeah, the first one was called Bad Night, as well as the Red Nose Day mini episode Time and Space, which it ties into those with a particular plot line. It's on at, I think it's at 8 minutes long, 8 minutes and a bit. This is actually the longest episode in the Night and the Doctor series. So that's really cool. It also has Matt Smith doming his white suit with the black bow tie, which I always love seeing. It's just very strange to see him out of his usual attire, especially earlier on in his run. You usually see him with the tweed and stuff. So it's really, it's just really cool to seeing him out of his comfort zone. And it also continues the idea that the Doctor has more adventures outside of what we're privy to. However, some of them might be a bit short, a bit uninteresting in terms of a viewing audience, but we don't get to see them, which is something I always like as part of. This also ties into Stephen Moffat's love for the canon. He just likes adding new elements to the canon, as well as with this one, it also adds with his wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sense of mentality, which also kind of changes the canon of Doctor Who, because this episode kind of establishes something which would become a lot present in the series. It was something that was criticised during the Christmas special, the Christmas Carol, and it's something that Stephen Moffat, instead of going, okay, I understand a lot of fans aren't okay with that, it's like, no, we're going to try and explain it a bit more, have more stories tell this kind of adventure, change the laws of time travel to suit the benefit of the story, rather than changing the story for the benefit of the canon. So, I mean, that's a whole ballpark. I think it's a controversy that's kind of been forgotten about, and the logic of time travel now has kind of changed from its classic series and early New Who series roots, so that Stephen Moffat has now completely changed the ballpark and can tell stories differently. Stories like the Christmas Carol, Pandorica's Open and Big Bang, and would later go on to continue it through Series 6, Series 7, Series 8 and Series 9, as well as Series 10-ish. Series 10 doesn't really have that much wibbly-wobbly, tiny-wimey in it. It's something that kind of dies down within his run. But now I'm just talking about something completely different. Good Night sees, the start of it sees the Doctor as kind of, he's bobbing around the TARDIS by himself. He's got a trumpet with him, and he opens the door and he's like, River, tell Madeline that something, and I'll be back in a bit. And he closes the door, implying that there was an adventure with him and River Song and Madeline Monroe, who, coincidentally enough, was also mentioned in the story of the Christmas Carol. And also as well, the Doctor's wearing a similar suit in that scene where Madeline gets mentioned, where it's claimed that the Doctor gets married to Madeline Monroe. So, whether for the Doctor's point of view, this story might actually take place then. This story might actually take place technically concurrently with that story. But then Amy's here, so I have no idea. It's really, or maybe they just met up with Madeline later on. Maybe Madeline is one of the few Doctor's night companions that we have knowledge of. That would be pretty interesting, don't you think? Madeline Monroe is the wife of the Doctor, as well as travelling with his actual wife for the song, wibbly wobbly tiny wimey. So the Doctor's about to, set his controls to try and sort out something, only for it turns out that Amy has actually been awake and she's in a nightie, and she has some questions for the Doctor, and the Doctor, he's a bit more quiet, a bit more down to earth in this story. The Doctor can see that something's bothering Amy, and first of all, Amy's just like, right, you've just had another night adventure. Now, where have you been? Don't lie to me. And the Doctor starts being a little bit bubbly with himself. He's just like, oh, I was sorting out the last of the trombone in a mind-controlled orchestra. Before that, I was in this adventure with something, and then before that, I was in another adventure somewhere on Earth. I can't remember where he said. I want to say Bristol, but I'm pretty sure it's not Bristol. And so, but then the Doctor can see in Amy that she's not herself. She's a bit low. She's a bit depressed. And I love like Matt Smith. Sorry. Just kind of turns out he crosses his arms. He's a bit more quiet. He's less bombastic with his movements, and his voice lowers. He's like, "What's the matter, Amy? Tell me, what's wrong?" And that bond, which I think has been missing with them in the previous miniseries that's set between the two series, that comes back in here in full spades, and I absolutely love it. Matt Smith really gives off this great performance, and Karen Gillan also gives this great performance where she's kind of sad because she kind of feels ignored, but the Doctor now has time for her, and he sees that there's something wrong with Amy and wants to rectify his mistake, because before she did have questions and something was bothering her. However, he felt like they made them not being that important, but now when he sees Amy down, it's like, okay, I'm settled. Tell me what is wrong, and I will listen. And one of the things that starts off is this whole idea with the Doctor having many adventures outside of the preview of Amy and Rory, and Amy kind of realizes, like, hold on, you live such a long life and you meet so many people, you must completely forget about us in your other life, in your other adventures. It must feel like you completely live life, and when we're gone, you'll completely forget about us. As Doctor is just like, no, I never forget anybody, and I definitely will not forget you, Amy. You are my best friend. You will never be forgotten. Fine wine. And that was something that bothered, and it's something that was getting it down, but that wasn't her main question. That's not the question which was teased upon at the start of Space and Time, as well as being the question in Bad Night, which she didn't get to ask. But she's here. We finally get to find out this question, the question that's been bothering her, the question that's not only tied into Night and the Doctor, but also as well the Red Nose Day, which I just want to state, that is really cool that they've done that. It's something like it's a lot really trivial, but in terms of it means a lot to the characters, and as well as it just makes the franchise feel a lot more sorted than it actually is, if we're going to be honest. But Amy gets to finally ask her question, and well, not really ask a question, but she just wants to talk about the Doctor, about something particular in her life, and that is the fact that her life makes absolutely no sense. She remembers her life with the crack in time, having no parents, meeting the Doctor. However, she also remembers living her life with her parents, completely fine and dandy with no issues whatsoever, and a life without the Doctor. She remembers them both simultaneously, both equally true in her history. and somehow it's not driving her mad. It's completely fine, but it does kind of eat away at Amy. She's just like she can remember these, but it's also seemingly she's okay with it, and the idea of her being okay with it is just really bizarre to her. So she's like questioning Doctor. She's kind of feeling uncomfortable about her own life and her own situation. And Stephen Moffat, as many of you may know, he is mostly known for writing his big bombastic speeches, or at least just like, a really good speech. And we get a great one here of the Doctor. Basically, it's like memories. They can always trick you. Sometimes you remember a holiday that you couldn't have gone to. You remember being at a party which you weren't actually there. And then he basically explains it's like memories are important, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's confusing and it doesn't make a lot of things. But memories are important, and sometimes history does work like that. You do piece puzzles together, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but it also well does, and you remember it like that. Deja vu. And that is just, it's a great speech. I don't know if the logistics really work, because I guess it does you can misinterpret it in saying that anything, even if you know it's a lie, is also true, which is a statement which I guess you could consider as harmful, I suppose. But I'm pretty sure Stephen Moffat here had no ill intentions in this speech. It's all about just how messy our memories can be, and the Doctor essentially tries to prove this by taking Amy on a little adventure. He connects her with the TARDIS's telepathic circuits and makes her to remember her saddest memory, which the Doctor tracks down. And it's a night when she was a little girl and she dropped her ice cream. That can't be her saddest memory. But the Doctor explains, dropping ice cream is always sad, especially when you're young and, you think so positively about the world, and then something like this horribly happens to you. And then he asks Amy what happened afterwards. As Amy recalls, nothing happened. She was just sat there crying all night. No, wait. Something actually did happen. A woman actually bought me ice cream. She was funny. She had ginger hair and wore a nightingale, a nightgown. And it does kind of click. I love as well, we as an audience kind of click what's happening, but we never get to see it like with Amy. She just kind of realizes in the situation that she was that person. She kind of is in tune with the logics of time travel and living with the Doctor, that she kind of already pieces together that it was her. And so the Doctor has taken her to that one night, and the Doctor basically explains it's like, time travel is this amazing thing, and memories are a complicated matter. And he basically cheers Amy up by not only getting her to buy her younger version ice cream, but also as well herself and the Doctor at this present time. The Doctor's just like, just enjoy the moment. History is complicated. It doesn't make any lick of sense. Just enjoy it whilst you can. And that's how Good Night ends. Is it Good Night? Are we looking at Good Night? We are looking at Good Night. Sorry, I got it mixed up with Bad Night then. So that's Good Night. Easy out of the short ones. It has the most character development. It's surprisingly one of the most important ones, because it kind of establishes more of the logistics of the Stephen Moffat time travel, where you can go back and change history. However, in the present time, your memories will alter to try and fit both timelines if nothing extra dimensional, kind of thing. If the Doctor goes back in time to your childhood, you as an adult would then remember two memories. Once one, the Doctor never appeared, and another one where the Doctor did appear. And your memory, and you're in the present day, kind of, the timelines kind of fix around you, at this moment in time, rather than a massive catastrophe, a massive or world-altering events which will harm the universe or something. And that's Stephen Moffat's way again. This is a time travel method which was established upon and was criticised in The Christmas Carol, however now is stated as the main canon. Stephen Moffat is kind of going to the audience, grabbing them by the ears and shouting at them, no, this is now how time travel works. But it's done in a way which is really personal to our characters, and despite it being really short, again, it's only, I think, 8 minutes long, it still packs a good and emotional punch, and it's well worth watching if you can track it down. It's on Daily Motion if you want to watch it. However, its official release, where it was first published, was in the Series 6 DVD box set. So if you have the complete Series 6 box set, highly recommend you go through your DVD menus, the special features, and watch it, because it's pretty decent and highly recommended coming from me. So that's Good Night, pretty damn good short. So join me next time where we return back to the Sarah Jane adventures. I'm not quite sure what actually happens. I believe Sarah Jane gets a daughter or something. I have no clue what I'm in for next. So join me next time for the Sarah Jane Adventure episode Sky. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!